We have basically discussed about the chromatography and its different principles, retention factor, and techniques, basically why it is used, and some more important points. Now basically we are going to start and we are going to discuss about the types of chromatography, and in the types of chromatography on the based of mechanism and separation principle, as I told you already that there are different type of chromatography techniques. Like one of the is absorption, partition, and ion exchange, size exclusion, as well as affinity. And when we talk about the according to the polarity of phases, like which of the phases you are using, sometimes it is what means of polarity of phases. That means suppose it is non-polar or it is polar. Some solvents are polar, some solvents are non-polar as well. So depending on the polarity of the phases, you will decide that what type of chromatography you are using. On the basis of that polarity, you can use normal phase as well as reversed phase. Again, we have seen that on the basis of geometry, we can differentiate the chromatography techniques on in two types. One is planar chromatography and the second one is column chromatography. Fine. In planar chromatography, we will see that there is a paper chromatography, there is a thin layer chromatography, high profile thin layer chromatography, column. Next, in column chromatography techniques, you will see that there is a column technique, HPLC, ion exchange, size exclusion, UPLC, affinity, and DCC, that is called counter current chromatography. Now the fourth one is according to the mobile phase. When you talk about the mobile phase, actually we are focusing more importantly in this point, because we will see the more you can say classified chromatography techniques in this section. Like when you see, this is a type of, there is a type of liquid chromatography, gas chromatography, as well as supercritical fluid chromatography. When we talk about the liquid chromatography, you will see this type of chromatography technique, that is paper, DCCC, column DCCC, and again in liquid solid you will see the column TLC, HPTLC, HPLC, ion exchange, size exclusion, affinity, and UPLC. When we talk about the GC, that is gas chromatography, you will see GSC and GLC is two major types, and last one is supercritical fluid chromatography. For now, basically we are going to focus on the most important type of chromatography techniques, that is paper, thin layer, gel filtration, affinity, as well as ion exchange. As I told you already that gel filtration technique is also known as size exclusion or column. Now again we are going to proceed to paper chromatography. We know the basics. We have already done this part, but I am just repeating the same. For paper chromatography, you will see that this is an analytical method to separate colored chemicals or substances. It is primarily used as a teaching tool because it is very simple. I told you already, simple and basic type of paper chromatography techniques. And also this is called thin layer chromatography. Actually there are not so much difference between paper chromatography and thin layer chromatography when you see the principle, like both depend on absorption as well as partition principles. Okay, I will tell the major difference later in the later slides. Okay, fine. This is useful for separating complex mixtures of compounds having similar polarity, for example amino acids. Okay, this type of paper chromatography is majorly used for the amino acids to separate. Fine. The setup has three components. The mobile phase is a solution that travels up the stationary phase. You know what is the mobile phase or what is the stationary phase, we have already discussed. The mobile phase is generally an alcohol solvent mixture, while the stationary phase is a strip of chromatography paper, also called a chromatogram. Now you know the terminologies of RF value already. We had discussed it already. We will discuss it later on, in the later slides as well, that what is the RF value and how to calculate the RF value. From 2-3 questions we can take also for that. Fine. Now paper chromatography, what is the principle? In paper chromatography techniques, you will see that based on two different principles. When you see the paper chromatography, there are two, you can say phenomena, or you can say two principles. One is adsorption and the second one is partition, as we discussed. When you talk about the absorption technique, then you will see there in the paper chromatography there will be a mobile phase, that will be liquid, that is your solvent basically, and there is a stationary phase, that is a paper. But when you talk about the partition chromatography, you will see that both are mobile phases, like stationary phase is also your mobile phases. Okay, the fluid you are using, the mobile phase you are using is just filled in the pores of the paper, so it is considered as a mobile phase as well. Liquid phase as well. Okay, So this both techniques like you will see in the paper chromatography simultaneously. The second type of paper chromatography is the paper partition. Like it is based on the principle that the moisture on the cellulose paper acts as a stationary phase. But when you see the first principle and the absorption, you will see that the higher affinity remain absorbed for a longer time, decreasing the speed of movement through the column. Actually this is absorbed where? On the paper. Fine. So this is a basically difference. Now all other points we will see the separation of the molecule is just based on how strongly they absorb onto the stationary phase. And additional concept of retention factor, actually the retention factor is a concept which applies to all the chromatography techniques, is applied during the separation of molecules on the paper chromatography. The retention value of a molecule is determined as a ratio of distance traveled by the molecule to the distance traveled by the mobile phase. We will see this formula later in the figure also. Now with the help of figure we can understand this type of chromatography. This is the paper chromatography example where you can see there is a lid, okay, and there is a basically a glass a beaker, not even beaker, you will call is as a chromatographic chamber. This chromatographic chamber is made up of glass, very thick glass, and you will take solvent here. The solvent is like you will take like 1 inch or 2 inch maximum when you talk about the level of the solvent, height of the solvent. And again the solvent is made up of, as I told you already, it is made up of butanol, water and acetic acid. These are the like liquids or you can say chemicals you will use to make a solvent in the fixed proportions. And obviously this solvent also depends on what type of solutes, what type of mixture you are going to separate out. Okay, it will depend, like proportions will be changed as well as components may be changed according to your solutes you are going to separate. Fine. When you take this solvent and you put the solvent in your chromatographic chamber, at the same time you have to input your paper. This paper is made up of cellulose. It is called Whatman filter paper number 1. Just because of pore size you have to use Whatman paper number 1. Okay, then again first of all what you have to do, you have to cut the paper in a particular size, and the size of the paper will depend on the chromatographic chamber size. Like the chromatographic chamber you are using, you have to calculate the size that paper will fit into it. Then you are going to cut the paper, and after cutting the paper you have to make a origin. Like here in the figure number 2 you can see this is the origin. What about this origin? This is also called you can say spotting line. Okay, you can also say is a spotting line. You have to spot your amino acids. Here you have to take a capillary. There is a small capillaries. With the help of that capillary, suppose that you are going to perform a amino acid separation experiment. In that particular experiment you have a mixture of amino acids and you have a different amino acids separately as a standard, you can say. Fine, it may be glycine, it may be arginine, it may be any type of amino acid you are using. So when you spot your amino acid on this line, that is called spotting line, after spotting you have to air dry the spots, and again you have to keep this paper into the solvent. You have to avoid like touching the spots to the solvent, because it will dissolve into the solvent and you will not get the results. So you have to keep very carefully this paper in this solvent, and as soon as your paper touches to the solvent, because remember one thing, you have to leave 1 to 2 centimeter space from the bottom of this paper to the spotting line or origin line. So you have to dip the paper very carefully, and again as soon as you dip the paper you have to leave this setup for 3, 4, 5, 6 hours, and at that particular time the solvent runs through the paper. Okay, upward size, it's just a capillary action. You know how the capillary actions what is the principle of the capillary action? Like suppose that if you are taking a water and you are dipping a normal paper into a water, then you will observe that the water absorbs into that paper. The same phenomena takes place here also. You are taking a paper, actually Whatman filter paper, what is it? Actually basically it's made up of cellulose. The paper you are using at your home as your stationaries, it is also made up of cellulose. So it's the same. The difference is that the Whatman filter paper is very delicate, like it is made prepared very carefully, that there must be no fingerprints, no smudges. Okay, you have to avoid all these things while handling as well. And yeah, pore size is fixed. So finally what happens, that your solutes, you can see, or mixtures is going to separate out in different solutes present. Like here you can see red one, purple one, blue one, or when you are talking about the amino acids, maybe arginine, glycine, you have a mixture of you can say arginine as well as glycine, okay, as well as other amino acids. So like A, B, C, anything, so they are going to separate on the basis of their affinity towards the paper, that is you can say cellulose as well. Finally, you will observe the differences in the affinity, and you will observe that there are like solutes that has been separated. And finally, you can take the paper out. You have to air dry it, and after air drying, you have to spray ninhydrin solution, because ninhydrin solution reacts with these amino acids and gives a different color, basically purple to blue color. Okay, it is a for all the amino acids, ninhydrin reacts with this amino acids and gives a purple to blue color. But for the proline, it gives a yellow color. Okay, this is another concept I will discuss you later in other lectures. Okay, why proline gives a yellow color and other amino acids gives a blue or purple color. Okay, it's a different concept. I will discuss it to you later, because when you separate the amino acids are transparent. You can't see the amino acids, like differentiate the amino acids on the basis of color, because all the amino acids have a similar color, like transparent when you dissolve in the water. So like after running the amino acids into a paper, on a paper, you see, or you can say the chromatogram. This is a chromatogram. You will see that you can't observe the amino acid. You will not able to see the amino acids separately or any type of spots there. Okay, this is you will observe that the paper is the same, like the blank paper or the paper you have used for the chromatography technique or chromatogram, you will see. But if you are spraying ninhydrin solution onto this paper, you will observe that there is a color creation. Okay, on the basis of that color, you will observe that, okay, fine, this is the amino acid reached here, this one amino acid reached here, and this one amino acid reached here. Okay, this is a different concept. We will discuss it later in different lecture. Don't worry about that. Fine. Now, paper chromatography, what are the steps? I have already explained you that you have to take a paper, cellulosic paper, different combination of organic and inorganic solvents. You have to take and about 200 microliter of sample you have to use for a spotting, and the sample you have to load and dip the paper in the mobile phase, and after dipping you have to take out the paper, and the retention factor you can calculate. Fine. How to calculate retention factor, we can discuss it later also in the next lecture. I think I have already told you as well. Uses of paper chromatography. Paper chromatography is performed to detect the purity of various pharmaceutical compounds. It can also be employed to detect contamination in various samples like food and beverages. This method can also be used for the separation of impurities from various industrial products. The analysis of the reaction mixtures in chemical labs is also conducted via paper chromatography, and paper chromatography is used in the separation of mixtures of inks or other colored drinks. So finally, as a conclusion basis, I will say that this is a very simple technique, very handy, and very cheaper also. So multiple techniques, multiple applications of this paper chromatography you will see in different fields. Fine. Now, what about the nature of the paper? When we talk about the nature of the paper commonly used consists of highly purified cellulose. As I told you, the cellulose will be highly purified, not like that you use in your notebooks. Cellulose are homopolysaccharide of glucose, you know properly, and contains several thousands anhydroglucose units linked through oxygen atoms. This is the chemistry of the cellulose. I think you already know that. The paper exhibits weak ion exchange and absorptive properties. Due to this phenomena takes place, and modified forms of paper have been produced in which the paper has been impregnated with alumina, silica gel, and ion exchange resin, etc. So in a very simple type of paper chromatography, you will see you will use only a plain cellulose paper, that is called Whatman. But in for other cases as well, you can see that there are the papers available in the market that is specialized, coated with alumina, silica gel, and other compounds to give it a special effects, like some type of ion exchange tendency or absorption property increase or decrease depending on your use. Now, the paper development. There are main techniques which may be employed for the development of paper chromatograms. ascending techniques, descending techniques, radial and two-dimensional. Now in general we have seen what is the paper chromatography, but when we see the types of paper chromatography, actually we can't say the types of paper chromatography. The principle, the phenomena, the retention factor, the spotting line and the solvent front and all these things are same, but how you arrange the paper, how you are cutting the paper, how you are allowing the mobile phase to go through the paper, all these things decide that there are four types of paper chromatography. That is first one ascending, descending and the radial, third one, the last one is two-dimensional chromatography. Now we will see what are these types. Sorry. Ascending chromatography, when the development of the paper is done by allowing the solvent to travel up the paper, it is known as ascending chromatography. That means whatever the chromatography we have studied right now in the paper chromatography techniques, whatever the figure I have shown you right now relates to the ascending technique of the paper chromatography, that's all. Both ascending and descending techniques have been employed for separation of organic and inorganic substances, but the ascending technique is preferred if the RF values of various constituents are almost same. So you are setting a chromatographic chamber, you are putting a paper into this chromatographic chamber, you are making spotting line, you are allowing the solvent or mobile phase to go through the paper, and ultimately you are taking it out and calculating the RF value, that's all. So it's a ascending type. Why ascending type? Because your solvent is going to in this form, okay, this is ascending form, okay, against the gravity, ascending form. So this is called ascending chromatography. Now the second one is descending paper chromatography. Now it is also the same, the phenomena is just opposite. Here what are you doing? You are taking the chromatographic chamber, you are putting a paper there, you are making a spotting line here, you are separating the different solutes and making a chromatograph, you are calculating the RF values, that's all the same, but the major difference is that there is a setup, you can say on the upper side of the chamber or your chromatographic setup. So ultimately what will happen, your paper will absorb, or you can say your mobile phase will go through your stationary phase or your paper from upside down, so it will go like from here, okay, from upside to downwards, from upwards to downwards. Finally the process is same, so it's just towards the gravity, not against the gravity. So it is called descending paper chromatography. In descending paper chromatography, the upper end of the paper is immersed in a solvent, so contained in a suspended trough, so that the initiated as in the ascending mode by capillary action is sustained by gravity and will continue so long as there is solvent to feed it. Fine. So this is not a different technique, basically just ascending and descending. The difference is how you allow the mobile phase to go through to a stationary phase. Now third one is radial paper chromatography. When you see the radial form, this is known as circular paper chromatography as well. This makes use of radial development. In this technique, a circular filter paper is employed. Then the various materials to be analyzed are placed at the center. After drying the spot, the paper is fixed horizontally on the petri dish, possessing the solvent so that the tongue or the wick and solvent front has moved through a sufficient large distance. The components get separated in the form of concentric circular zones. You will see a figure here. You can see this is technique of radial chromatography, or you can say radial paper chromatography. It's nothing, again I am telling the same, it's the same, but the difference is here you are allowing your mobile phase to like go through a stationary phase in a circular motion, or you can use a circular way or radial movement. Finally you will see, you can see the petri dish, you are providing a source of mobile phase from here. Here also you can see a source of mobile phase here. So like you have observed in your normal life as well, if you are putting any liquid from here, it will go in a radial movement, in a circular movement, and again this is the edges of the paper. Before reaching or before crossing the edges of the paper, you have to stop this phenomena, so you can have a solvent front, because you are not allowed to cross the mobile phase to cross the edges of the paper in any case, like in ascending type, in descending type, or in any type of paper chromatography. So it is your solvent front, your circular filter paper is here, sample spotting is here. Okay, because why sample or spotting is here? Because here you are going to start the mobile phase to go through, and there is a wick. Okay, that's just for a support and all. Again, in this figure you can see in a glass there is a paper. I think this is just absorbent type of paper you can see, and this paper is just inserted across the you can say this chromatographic paper, and to allow the mobile phase to go through first with this absorbent paper, and again it spreads out radially in this form to this chromatographic paper, and along with that solvent or mobile phase, these are the colors, or you can say any type of solids will separate out. Okay, will go through that mobile phase, and depending on the affinity they will separate it. Here are some examples as well. You can say these are the examples where different colors has been separated on the basis of radial paper chromatography. Again, the last one is your two-dimensional chromatography. In this, a square or rectangular paper is used. The sample is applied to one of the corners. The second development is performed at right angle to the direction of the first one. This type of chromatography can be carried out with identical solvent systems in both the directions or by two solvent systems. Here you can see what you have to do. This is the two-dimensional. You have to first suppose that just for an example, you just see sometimes what happens, there is a mixture of compounds. So when you are using some type of solvent or mobile phase, it may be like polar, non-polar type of solvent and all. Sometimes you are using mixture of compounds. Just imagine the mixture of compound is A, B, C, D, E, F and G. When you are using two-dimensional chromatography, why you use that? When you perform first step, like in one dimension, first step, like a drop of mixture you put and you just do a simple chromatographic technique, then what you do, you input you just spot a mixture. Okay, these are the mixture. We can say this is a mixture total X. Okay, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. This is a mixture X. What will happen when you spot this paper? Maybe A, B will be separated, C, D will be separated, and E, F, G will be separated. But right now you can see A, B, C, D and E, F, G separated, but in three different spots. Like in the figure you can see, some hours later, here some of the solids are separated, but AB in this technique when you perform, AB has no tendency to separate. Okay, like they both have the same affinity for the mobile phase, so they can't be separated. But CD has a different affinity with AB, so it is separated and as well applicable as well as for the EFG. No, now you have to again run your paper. Here what happened? You just you can say rotated your paper at 90 degree clockwise, and you again put your paper like this. Now your spots A, B, C, D, E, F, G are here. Three spots A, B, C, D and E, F, G. Fine. Now you again run the same chromatogram with a different solvent. Now you are changing the proportion of the solvent. You are changing even you can say component of the solvent, whatever it may be, depending on your solutes or the samples you are using. Now again what will happen? AB will separate, like here A, here B, here CD will be separated, C and again D, and here E, F, G will be separated. So I think you will understand that why we need two-dimensional chromatography, because at the same moment, or you can say at a single run, you can't differentiate all the samples in one shot. So when you are having a complex mixture of solutes, okay, in your solvent system or the sample you have isolated, at that time you have to perform as a two-dimensional chromatography technique. First you have to take the paper, you have to make only one spot, and if after running that one spot, when you have a different type of spots separated out, then again you have to tilt at 90 degree. You have to, sometimes you don't have to change your solvent, but sometimes you have to change your solvent, okay, depending on your solute. I am again telling you. Now you will see the different chromatograms separated here. So this is the final type of, you can say, paper chromatography, two-dimensional, ascending, descending, radial and two-dimensional. Fine. Now application of paper chromatography. When we see the applications, to check the control of purity of pharmaceuticals, to the detection of adulterants, to detect the contaminants in food and drinks, to the study of ripening of fermentation, to the detection of drugs, to the analysis of cosmetics, analysis of reaction mixtures in biochemical labs. I think we have already seen these applications earlier in this slide. Now, advantages and disadvantages of paper chromatography. One of the major advantage of paper chromatography is the sensitivity with which compounds can be located after separation. Amounts as little as 0.1 microgram is 1 millionth of a gram of some compounds can be detected with routine reagents. Actually, I have performed this experiment with amino acids. You are going to put a very dilute amino acid composition and very small amino acid spotting, like it may be 1 or 2 millimeter only, but even you can see the better separation of the amino acid. You will see that separation of the amino acid, and when you do perform the experiments, fine. And obviously the operation time is small. In next 4 to 5 hours you are going to have results. What are the disadvantages? Paper chromatographic techniques cannot be used in separation of volatile substances. So obviously you can't use volatile substances in paper chromatography, and such as hydrocarbons and volatile fatty acids, because actually for fatty acids we will talk about later. All the fatty acids are separated with the help of GC, that is gas chromatography, because fatty acids are volatile compounds. You can't use the volatile compounds in the paper chromatography. That's it. The lower limit for the detection of most compound is 1 to 5 microgram. Fine. And if you are lowering the limits even from 1 to 5 microgram, then you will have problems with paper chromatography, and you have to prefer with some advanced type of chromatography techniques. Now, what about the thin layer chromatography? When we talk about the thin layer chromatography, is a separation technique where the stationary phase is applied as a thin layer on a solid support plate with a liquid mobile phase. See, when we talk about the TLC and we will talk about the paper chromatography, I would say both are same, the principle is same, all things are same, but in the case of TLC, we take a plate that is called TLC plate. This is a very thin support, okay, and here it is always solid. It is always solid. When like I can say, this is absorption process. So in the principle, when you see this chromatography technique is based on the principle that components of a mixture are separated when the component having an affinity towards the stationary phase binds to the stationary phase. In contrast, other components are eluted with the mobile phase. It's not the very different principle. It applies to all the chromatographic techniques like in TLC. The substrate or ligand is bound to the stationary phase, that is a very thin layer support, that is also called TLC plate, that the reactive sites for the binding of components are exposed. There are different type of TLC plate depending on the different solutes. Now the mixture is passed through the mobile phase, where the components with binding sites for the substrate bind to the substrate on the stationary phase, while the rest of the components are eluted out with the mobile phase. I have told you already, eluted, that means used with the for the your solutes with the mobile phase mixed actually, and sometimes you use elutions, okay, elutions profiles. After separation, the molecules are seen as spots at a different location throughout the stationary phase. The detection of molecules is performed by various techniques. Okay, so nothing to read about the TLC separately. Actually, it's same as I told you for the paper chromatography. Here you can see also the figure, the chromatographic chamber. You can see you use the chromatographic chamber. You use you consider the solvent front. You consider the spotting line. Okay, all the things are same, but the difference is here you don't use paper. Here you use TLC, that is TLC plate, that is thin layer chromatography specialized plates. Okay, and the plate is made up of different materials. Fine, sometimes it is silica or other plates. Finally, thin layer chromatography is routinely performed in laboratories to identify different substances present in a mixture, and this technique helps in the analysis of fibers in forensics. TLC also allows the assay of various pharmaceutical products. It aids the identification of medicinal plants and their composition. Here you can see in the figure number 2, there is a TLC plate written here. There is a spot. Actually, when you compare the TLC with paper chromatography, you will see that it is more convenient because you have to purchase a TLC plate from the market. Like in the case of paper chromatography, you don't have to cut it down and set it measurement and all. The second thing is that in TLC plate you see a better resolution. You see a broad spectrum of applications, because in TLC plate a thin layer applications is of different materials depending on different absorbent, depending on different solutes. So in TLC you will see that there are broad spectrum applications, but in paper chromatography you will see limitations like this. There is a paper only, paper is made up of cellulose only, then you have to use the solutes that will work on that particular cellulose and this partition and absorption principles and all. So there is a limitations for paper chromatography in this regard, and when you talk about the TLC, the principles is same, all three things are same, but due to the specialized TLC plate, the applications is very broad. That's all. Okay, now applications of TLC. Now purity of any sample. If any purity is detected, then it shows extra spots. This can be detected easily, that is benzophenone reaction mission or why purity? For purity, because you sometimes you extract any sample and you purify your sample with the help of centrifugation, with the help of, you can say, filtration techniques, but you are not sure that our mixture is pure or not. Then at that time also you can perform TLC and you can observe that our mixture is pure or not. You can use paper chromatography as well, but as I told you earlier that there must be some limitations with the paper. Identification of compounds. TLC can be employed in purification, isolation and identification of natural products like volatile oil or essential oil, fixed oil, waxes, terpenes, etc. Fine. Examination of reactions. Reaction mixture can be examined by TLC to assess whether the reaction is complete or not. Biochemical analysis. TLC is extremely useful in isolation or separation of biochemical metabolites or constituents from its body fluids, blood plasma, serum, urine, etc. So TLC is used for identification of cations and anions in inorganic chemistry, and various pharmacopoeias have adopted TLC technique, and as well as in food and cosmetic industry. Listen, one question will arise in your mind. Then if I am showing you this figure, and this figure is showing just a simple technique of plate is kept in a beaker, and you will see how it is possible that we are going to biochemical analysis and chemistry and pharmaceutical industry and this much applications. Yes, because when we talk about the HPTLC, you know, HPTLC is a high performance thin layer chromatography. It's a 2D type of chromatography. But when you talk about the HPTLC, actually TLC basically is a technique. Okay, this plate, it's not like that this plate is going to in this form only. In the HPTLC you use a specialized type of TLC, and HPTLC is a proper setup, a high-end instrument. In that high-end instrument you use a high performance, sometimes it's called high profile also. You use a higher pressure to run your samples, to run your mobile phases with your samples. So when you talk about that HPTLC, you can do all these experiments with the help of HPTLC. Fine. We will discuss about HPTLC later, next lectures. Advantage of TLC. TLC technique requires less time and fewer amounts of substances. More distinct individual spots make determination easy. Strong reagents can use for the purpose of identification. TLC plates can be heated to higher temperatures without any damage, as I told you in case of HPTLC. Disadvantage of thin layer chromatography. TLC plates do not have long stationary phases. Length of separation is limited compared to other chromatography techniques, and detection limit is a lot higher. Fine. So these are the some disadvantages and advantages of the TLC, but all over it's very applicable and very helpful chromatography techniques. Okay, fine. All this I think we have covered the basic concepts of paper chromatography as well as TLC, and for today's lecture it's enough. and we will see the size exclusion chromatography and other techniques in our next lecture.